Okay, so in the last video, we left off with, we had found the area of all the sides, and so we were adding up each area to find surface area. So if you will take your calculator or just simply add it up on paper, we have 360 plus 180 plus 144. And that's going to give us 684. 684. And so surface area would be 684 inches squared. Okay, so we're covering the box with paint, and so we need to know surface area. Okay, so this is going to be 684 inches squared. All right, let's take a look at the last one. So we have a cake box, and we have some dimensions. We've got a length, we've got a width, we've got a height. And it reads, I bought the cake and it came in a box like the one pictured above. If I want to cover the box in saran wrap to keep the cake fresh before the party, how much saran wrap will I need to cover the box without any gaps or overlap? So we know that if we're covering each side, that is going to be surface area. So we need to find surface area for that one. The next one is asking us what is the volume of the cake box pictured above. And then we have another question that we'll get to in a minute that belongs to the bottom part. So let's go ahead and start here with our box. And with our box, we need to find surface area. So I'm going to start with looking at some dimensions, like if we know this is 10, then this would be 10 inches. This would be also 10 inches. We have 6.5 inches here, so this would be 6.5. This would be 6.5. So those are the things that we need. We have 7.5 here, so 7.5 here, 7.5 here. Just kind of helps to know all your dimensions. Okay, so we're going to start with, I'm going to go ahead and start with the top and the bottom since those are the same. So that's going to be two that are the same, top and bottom. We know that they are in the shape of a rectangle. So area equals length times width. If we go ahead and look, we know that we have 6.5 by 10, 6.5 by 10. So 6.5 inches by 10 inches. And so if we multiply 6.5 by 10, we're going to get 65 inches squared. However, we know that we have 2 of those the same. So I'm going to do 65 times 2, which is going to give us 130. So this one actually has an area of 130 inches squared. This would be the top and the bottom. All right, let's go ahead and move to what I would call the front and the back piece would be the same. So the front and the back. There's 2 of those, front and back. Again, that's going to be a rectangle, so area equals length times width. All right, so we know with the front we have the base perpendicular to the height, so we have 6.5 by 7.5, and that will be true for the back as well. So 6.5 times 7.5. You can go ahead and do that on your calculator. So 6.5 times 7.5, we get 48 and 75 hundredths. 48 and 75 hundredths. Now here we know that there's 2 sides. We have 48 and 75 hundredths times 2. So we're going to take that and we're going to multiply by 2. And as you can see, we get 97.5. So the area is 97.5 inches squared. So that's going to be the area of the front and the back. Now we have the two sides. So we have the right side and the left side over here. So two sides, right side, left side. They're both rectangles, so area equals length times width. Okay, we can tell we have a 10 by 7.5. So area equals 10 times 7.5. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 10 times 7.5. That gives us 75. So we have 75. However, we're going to have 75 times 2 since there are two sides with the same measurement. So 75 times 2 is going to give us 150 inches squared. And this is going to be the area of those sides. So now we need all three of these measurements. So we need 130. We need 97.5. So I'm going to make that a decimal and fill in with our 0 placeholder. And then we have a 150. Again, we can put our placeholder there if you're going to do it by hand. Now with our calculator, we can just simply do 130 plus 97.5 plus 150, and we get 377.5. So what we have is surface area that equals 377.5 inches squared. That's going to be our final answer here. Okay. All right. So right here, we're going to put our answer in there. So 377.5 inches squared. Okay, so let's move on to what is the volume of the cake box. Okay, so with volume, we know volume is going to be length times width times height. Okay, so if we go back to our box, we can see we have 6.5 and 10 and then 7.5 are the dimensions we need. So we have our length, we have our width, and we have our height. Okay, so we're looking for what our volume equals. All right, so on your calculators, you can do 6.5 times 10 times 7.5, and we get a volume of 48 7/75 inches. This will be cubed since volume is cubed. Okay, 487.5 inches cubed. All right. And last but not least, it says, I decided to make small cubed cakes called Petit Fours. They are a 4-inch cube. 4-inch cubes. How many Petit Fours can I fit in the cake box above? Okay, so we need to know if we're going to be filling the box, that's going to be volume. We just found the volume of the box. So I'm going to put volume of the box, and we know volume of the box equaled 487.5 inches cubed. Now, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to find the volume of the cubes, because we need to know what the volume of those would be to see how much space that would take up in the box as well. So we can see we've got a 4th by a 4th by a 4th. So volume, length, width, and height. So we have 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. Okay. So 1 numerator for denominator times 1 numerator for denominator times 1 numerator for denominator. And we get 1/64. So the volume of a cube is 1/64 inches cubed. Okay? So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to divide the volume of the box by the volume of the cube so that we can figure out how many of the cubes, I'm saying cubes, but these are the Petit Fours, that will fit into the box. So we need to take 487.5, which is the volume of the box, and divide it by the volume of the cube, which is 1/64. Okay, so take your calculator. We're going to do 487.5, so 0.5. We're going to divide that by 1 numerator, 64 denominator, and we get 31,200. So 31,200, be careful of your question. The question is how many Petit Fours. So this is how many Petit Fours will fit into the box. Okay, so right here, 31,200 Petit Fours.